Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Week 5 upon us. First divisional game. Cincinnati Bengals coming to town, joined by Yuri from the Ravens Way, as usual. But special guest, longtime friend, confidant, all of the above, the Purple Princess herself, Ashley Priyanka, in the house with us tonight. Ashley, thank you so much for coming. And how are you doing? And what are you doing? Because I know you're doing some stuff, and I want you to tell everybody about it.
Well, thank you for having me back. I know this is a lot more laid back than what I've been doing. You can find me on the Sports Forum Washington. I'm an analyst and a writer there. So that's what I've been up to. But I like the whole football is family, casual environment at night. I feel at home.
I miss you. I miss you very much. I'm very proud of you and your work and your writing. Your writing style is a little bit like mine, actually. I was a journalism major at College Park. That's what I wanted to do, but family comes calling and all that kind of stuff. So, I eventually gave that up, but yeah, I still like follow you and retweet your stuff. So it's just so wonderful to have you. And let's jump right into it. But before we get to the matchups, we always do like the hot topics of the week, that kind of thing. One thing that stood out to me, and I want to ask Ashley about this because your relationship with Ohio and Bengals and Browns fans are very special. But Joe Burrow said something to the effect that he would have to be damn near perfect for the Bengals to win this game. Damn near perfect in quotes. That's not paraphrasing. Me, Ashley, I'm not falling for the old banana in the tailpipe trip. Like, I know you're supposed to compliment your opponents and say the right things, but to me, felt like he was kind of hedging himself into like, hey, if I lose, it's because we don't have a good team. What did you make of those comments? We need to be, I need to be damn near perfect.
I think he's probably just thrown off from how they've started this year. I know that everyone was hyping this team up. I was never really sold that the Bengals were going to be as good as everyone was hyping them up to be. I was pretty confident that the Ravens were still going to come in here and win this division. So I think he was probably a little bit thrown off. He seems to have a big ego, so that may have bruised his ego, and he didn't really want to walk in here uber confident, and then if they end up losing, then that'll be held above him for the rest of the season. He did lose pretty badly to the Ravens last year, so I think that's kind of a reminder as well. But it's just a very odd thing to say. Even if that's how he feels, I would kind of expect him to be more like, oh, well, I don't look at this any other way. I look at all the games the same when I go into them. So a little weird to know that he's rattled going into this game, but who knows? He could just be trying to throw the Ravens off, and he's really confident in himself and he's doing like reverse psychology or something.
For sure. Hey, with the way their interior offensive line is playing and the way Travis Jones is playing, I'd be a little rattled too. But yeah, to be honest, the Bengals team this year, their defense isn't really providing him any help. The offense is doing its job, scoring points, but their defense is really bad against the run, really bad against the pass, and it makes sense. He is working an uphill battle in this game. Especially the way we just kind of what we did to the Bills. Don't want to get ahead of myself too early. I know it's a divisional game, but he could be in for a very long day.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that defense, Yuri, because I pulled a couple of tweets off the old interwebs, and I don't know if you saw this, Yuri or Ashley, but this guy, look, it's Yuri. Um, the Bengals run defense. Take us through it, Yuri. Go ahead. It's your tweet, bud.
Yeah, so 28th versus design runs. It's no option, no anything crazy. Just hand the ball off. 28th in efficiency versus the run. Pretty self-explanatory. They are really bad at stopping the run. 31st versus under center and outside the tackle. So your outside zone concepts, your stretch power concepts. When other teams are lining up under the center, they're getting beat really badly. That's 31st in both of those. So under center runs, just in general, it could be inside power and all that stuff, and outside the tackles could be pistol outside zones or jet sweeps, whatever run that you want to insert that fits that criteria. They're really bad against it. So Yeah.
Right. I mean,
That
28th overall in efficiency. So it don't matter what kind of run right there. And then I kick it again. I pulled this one, Yuri. How about their pass defense? That's better, right?
Yeah, not any better either. 25th in efficiency, 25th versus no play action. So that means when they're just doing when the linebackers aren't flowing, their linebackers just dropping straight into coverage. No one's freezing, and there's more likely than not they're playing their base coverages. They're getting cooked. They're getting cooked up. 24th versus the long passing deep ball. Probably I would assume the marker here is 15 or over in terms of yards, air yards for that NFL Pro qualifier. I have to look into that one. And then 23rd versus quick passing. I'm assuming 5 and under for that one as well. So yeah, bad defense.
Yeah, I
Overall.
like the translation. Translation, very technical there. Ashley, Bengals offense, overall defense is very bad. Way to break it down for us there. That was a great closing line. Yeah, Ashley, this run defense, pass defense of the Bengals has just been atrocious. And you see at the bottom of the screen, I mean, yeah, they played Kansas City. Kansas City's struggling, trying to find its way. Jaden Daniels has been, shoot, he might be the MVP at this point if there were such a thing after week 4. But Patriots, Panthers, not exactly offensive juggernauts. And if they gave up to 38 points to Washington and Jaden Daniels with his mobility and style, Lamar Jackson's in a different category than Jaden Daniels, even though they're the same style. It's going to be an uphill climb for the Bengals if the Ravens do their thing. And Ashley, here's something that has been bothering me a little bit. The Ravens are 28th, or excuse me, they had 8 more penalties last week. Not sure where 28th came from. The lack of discipline on this team is something among all the good vibes the last 2 weeks that has bothered me. 8 penalties again in a game that we were blowing them out from the start. Like, you just want to stay disciplined in a game like that.
Yeah, and this has been a problem ever since week 1. I know that that was a really big argument, and it was discourse on Twitter for a really long time after they lost to the Chiefs. It can't all be on the refs. There are maybe some unfair calls that you can disagree with, and that's your prerogative. But a lot of this just is an undisciplined team or just really silly mistakes that these are veteran players too making them. It's not even like it's coming from the rookies who really haven't had a lot of time. It's coming from players who know better. And that's just been a problem with the Ravens from week 1. I feel like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I feel like they're maybe the most, if not tied with the most penalized team thus far in the NFL. And that's not going to win a championship.
For sure, they're at least top 5 in penalties. I want to say after week 2, they were definitely the first. I know that all. I know that for a fact. I would also toss out there, and that was very well said. I would also toss out there the fumbles as well. We had 2 fumbles last week, and that just goes along with the theme of being disciplined, being a disciplined ball carrier. And hey, we did what we did against the Bills, and that's great. But better teams, I guess you could say, or better matchups, better game scripts, where it's a little more even. Those turnovers will hurt you.
Yes, and again, if it was a back and forth game, or maybe we were down and we were pressing, trying to make plays, and maybe we fumble or throw an interception because we have to take chances. That's one thing. But in the last 2 weeks, the game script has been extremely positive. Get out early, score early, build a big lead early. And in those kind of games, penalties, turnovers, as Yuri pointed to, those are the 2 things that cannot happen. Like I understand players make mistakes, and I'm the biggest Lamar Jackson fan out there. But when Lamar, dove and fumbled while we were up and ready to put that game away, I was on the verge of, I don't cuss much, but I was on the verge of cussing at Lamar. Just, man, that's the last thing we need. That is the last thing we need, especially with the way we gave up leads. The lead to Las Vegas and giving up leads in the past. So I want to see more discipline from this football team. I guess you guys agree with me on that. Penalties, the turnovers haven't been poor, but I think last week was a good example of just getting outside of yourself. Sunday night game, you want to make a big play, I understand, but just take care of the ball when everything's working. Lamar, by the way, has been fantastic, extremely efficient. The completion percentage, when he has had to throw, he's made some great throws. So Lamar's having another great year. The other topic I wanted to get to before we get to the matchups is more of the popular discussion here. So I just wanted to weigh in real quick. Devontae Adams on the trade block mentioned that the Ravens would be one of the destination that he's looking at. My personal opinion, I'll just go first before Ashley goes. I feel like fans just automatically assume that every player that's available, we should be favorites to get. And then when we don't get that player, they're really disappointed, really mad at DaCosta and Harbaugh, and they don't realize that there's 31 other teams out there. Like, if you want to do the math, if a team's trading a player, you got a 1 in 31 shot of him coming to Baltimore. I feel like fans feel like that's 100% or 80%, or all we have to do is try. For a player like Devontae Adams, it would be an excellent addition. But there's more that goes into it, Ashley, as far as salary, age, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not expecting it. I would be excited, hype, doing some film study if we got him, but I'm not getting my hopes up for this.
Yeah, I've already gotten my hopes up, but I don't know that it'll happen. All I really care is that we at least made an effort, because I've been hearing that the Ravens are one of the teams that are in the draw for this one. And I know Devontae has said that he would enjoy playing with Lamar, but it's kind of one of those things that it's like, well, what else is he supposed to say? Because it was brought up to him. I don't think he brought it up himself. It was more they prompted him, and he was like, yeah, I'd love to play with Lamar Jackson. But I feel like every wide receiver in the league would have the same answer to that. And I also just feel like it's more poetic and realistic if he lands in New York with Aaron Rodgers, especially just the relationship that they have off the field. I feel like that's probably more realistic and where he's going, but all I would like to see is the Ravens pick up the phone and make an offer, or maybe just inquire about it, just so I know that the effort was made in getting him.
And before you go, Yuri, two things. Number one, I think the sense of urgency from the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers are going to be higher than anybody's, because, this is their last run, with Rodgers. You don't know how much longer he's going to play. If he's going to play there, it's New York. That is Aaron Rodgers' guy. So I feel like New York's would be the favorite. If I had to put money on it, I would bet New York. And then number two, the other thing, Yuri, there was stuff going around in the internet of making a big deal out of Harbaugh saying we like our guys. Well, he was literally asked if he believes in his guys, if he likes his guys. So I feel like that quote was taken out of context and people ran with it. Like, they didn't ask him, hey, would you like Devontae Adams? And Harbaugh said, no, we like our guys. They asked him, Harbaugh, what do you think about your guys? I like our guys. So I thought that was a little bit unfair to the coach and the way people were using that for clickbait, Yuri.
For sure. Before I got to ask Ashley, is this considered golden hour right now? I'm 3 hours behind you guys. Is this golden hour? Am I golden hour?
It is, actually.
It is? All right,
Yeah.
cool. So after I go, I have to put my light on. But it's so different being out here, out west. It's just, man, the sun's out, and you guys are, Monday Night Football Thursday Night Football. Once it ends, it's bedtime for you guys. I still got like an hour and a half left after that. So
I mean,
anyway.
Speak for yourself. I got people coming over. Big giant house party. You know how I roll, bro.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Look, once I come back, I'll hit you up. We'll hit one of those parties. Come on over. No, you don't want me over? All right.
No.
Anyways.
Oh, no.
Anyways, yeah. Do I have my hopes up? No. It's just not something they usually do. Do I want them to do it? Yes, absolutely. Is it feasible? Cap wise, but it's pushing it. A lot of loops to go through there, but to Jason's sentiment, the Jets, I feel like they're going to be the team that pushes the hardest for him, especially after losing the Broncos the way they did. They're going to want that offense to go out there and be able to score more than 9 points in a game. So yeah, it's just they should do it, even if it's renting him for a second round pick, because I mean, hey. It is. We are in year 7 of Lamar Jackson, and it's been a while. It's real. Well, they haven't ever put a chip in like that in the offense, and pushed a chip in that was meant to be a draft pick like that. They did it for Roquan, they did it for Yannick, did it for MP, and even though MP really wasn't a chip, it was more of like really a steal. But it would be nice, refreshing. I would feel very good about the Ravens offense if they got Devontae Adams.
It would be hard not to. It would be hard not to. Um, I just if you sign Devontae, there's always ways to manipulate the cap. The only thing I would say is signing Devontae would push someone else out the door. Not this year, but next year. So maybe you can't sign somebody else. So they have to believe in him that he's going to be good for this offense this year, next year, however long it goes, unless they just want to rent him and cut him. But I can't see the Ravens taking on dead money. So it's complicated, but if they want him, they could have him.
If they got real quick, if they got 2 good years out of him, I'd be fine with that for a second round pick. I mean, hey, the last second round pick, David Ojabo didn't even play his first 2 years, so just
yeah. Ashley, second round pick, and they can make the money work. Are you in?
Yeah, of course.
There we go. So, old friend, great supporter, great dude, Don C, Jason, Yuri, and the stunning Ashley. My favorite people. I'm driving, listening on Bluetooth. Much love, guys. Well, if you're listening, how do you know Ashley is stunning? She actually she might not look very good right now. You don't know. You're listening on Bluetooth, but no, Don, love you, buddy. Very good to see the DON to the C. Love him in here. Also, Cosmonaut Project, football is family. Glad to see a good group tonight. Cosmonaut Project helps me with my music. So the opening theme, that was the first thing we worked on, and it just. I think it was one of the best things that we came up with. So it ended up kind of being the theme of the channel. So shout out to Cosmonaut. So let's get into it. Let's get into the matchups. Got to do my little fast forward thing. Don't have the fancy slides other creators do. But here we go. Ravens offense. I'm still sticking with 12 personnel here, Ashley. So 2 tight ends. Obviously, Ravens fans know Nelson Aguilar will come in off the slot. Pat Ricard's had 2 huge games in a row with all the rushing and the rushing success. He'll be on the field a lot. They will mix it up, but this is the main personnel. This will probably be the main personnel if everybody is healthy come December and January. And Ashley, I tried to switch these up and highlight different people, but with those stats that we saw from Yuri and the rush defense of the Bengals, it's like impossible not to highlight Derrick Henry again.
Yeah, I agree. And this is only the first game that we are facing off with the Bengals. So I would assume that Keaton Mitchell will be good to go by the time we play them again. And if they continue to put up the poor numbers that they are, it's just going to be devastating for them in both meetings with the Ravens.
Yuri, my Keaton Mitchell piece, I'm going to kick it to you on this. I think the ideal game script, and I'm talking 30, 35 rushes, here, maybe it's a even game, close game the whole way, running and passing about the same, 50-50. I'm thinking 15 to 20 touches for Henry. You don't want to wear him out too bad. Justice Hill maybe around 8 and Keaton Mitchell maybe around 5 to ease him back in. So that's kind of how I see the rotation taking off, both keeping Keaton Mitchell fresh. Justice Hill has never handled a big load like that. And then with Derrick Henry, 15 to 20.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to speak to at least this game, not like last game where we had a big I love the call we had last week about Justice Hill out of the backfield. I know I tagged you like 3 times on it in the timeline, but this game, not so much. Bengals linebackers, lot better in coverage, a lot better athletes. But the Ravens and Henry really should have his way. I don't trust their interior to be able to hold up in the run defense. They have good edge rushers against run defense, but I think up the middle, following Linderbaum with Henry, is going to be effective. And I would also say that Justice Hill as well is starting to show the reason why the Ravens extended him. That was kind of out of nowhere, at least in my eyes. So he goes out there and he's continued to produce. And to Ashley's point, Keaton Mitchell comes back. I mean, hey, really, we've kind of say this every year, but what is stopping the Ravens' rush offense? It's usually themselves. That usually is the answer, is themselves. But
right, or a defense just goes all out to stop it, stuffs the middle, floods the edges, and makes you beat them with the pass. So that's something that the Ravens are going to have to prove at some point in the season because we've just leaned so much on the run game that the pass game has just been a distant memory. Lamar's played well, but he hasn't had to really push it and carry it aside from week one against Kansas City. And week one against Kansas City, if you guys remember, it was the Lamar Jackson show. It was a lot of scrambling. It was a lot of guys not open. It was a lot of pressure on him. So we need to operate a little bit better. Lamar can always go Superman mode, but we don't want him to have to go into Superman mode to score in the passing game. But yeah, Derrick Henry, just unbelievable. Number one in the NFL in rush yards and yards per carry, tied for first in touchdowns. We're really getting our money's worth out of him. I'm glad that you brought up B.J. Hill or the Bengals interior defensive line because I was thinking about B.J. Hill, Ashley. He is by far the Bengals' best player, but he's coming back off of injury, and he just started practicing again this week. Maybe he practiced limited last week, but he didn't play. So he's just coming back. They have other injuries up front. They lost DJ Reader, who was a pain in the Ravens' butt when he was in Houston and when he was in Cincinnati. Carter is a rookie out of Duke. I'm sure Yuri doesn't like him with his North Carolina ties.
Actually,
But
I do like him. As a player.
Dwayne Carter was a nice player, but they're hurting in that defensive tackle room, Ashley, and running up the gut. If I think that the Ravens did a nice job incorporating under center and out of pistol last week, so that middle, Derrick Henry can get a full head of steam and head up the gut.
Yeah, I agree. Between Henry and between Jackson rushing as well, this is really devastating is the only word that I can think of. I don't think people are this prepared for how Cincinnati is going to look against this Ravens offense because I think they're still fighting for the chance that Cincinnati is going to work up to everyone's expectations and maybe somehow take over the North again, but I just don't see it. I don't see it with this group. Like you said, he's coming off of injury. He's not going to look to the caliber that is expected of him. And I think our line has been steadily improving. I'm not going to give them their flowers. I'm not going to say that it's an amazing offensive line, but they're improving week after week. And I think I'm maybe giving Harbaugh a little bit of leniency and just trying to see his vision for what he's seeing in this line. But I don't think it's a fair matchup with Cincinnati's line at all, to be honest.
Right. I mean, especially up front. I mean, Hubbard and Hendrickson are good. Nothing to take away, but like what we've seen with this line, Yuri, is a level of competition and an undersized thing. You got a Chris Jones, you got a Christian Wilkins, you got some other bad boys up there. They're going to give us problems. Especially for he's being a rookie. Faalele still has his warts. I mean, the Dallas game was a clinic in what not to do from that Dallas defense up front and the linebackers. I was on the show with Ken, and I was joking that like when Faalele had to climb to level 2 to block, it was more like level 1.5 because those dudes were like running themselves right into blocks, running themselves right out of the play. So level of competition does have something to do with it. BJ Hill would normally be somebody over Faalele that I would be, concerned about. Like, hey, he's got to hold up. But coming off leg injuries, I think it was hamstrings or it was a muscle pull. I don't think he'll be ready for a full workload, and he's the kind of undersized guy that the Ravens could overpower. I highlighted Logan Wilson, Ashley, coming back to you again. I think it's your turn. But Logan Wilson, obviously a very good player. Jermaine Pratt has struggled versus the Ravens mightily. Logan Wilson has struggled this year. When you look at his coverage numbers and the run defense numbers, the Bengals have missed a lot of tackles on defense, which again speaks to the potential for the Ravens to really have a good game here. I'm thinking if I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm looking at Logan Wilson, and he has to step up.
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing is especially on their defense, it cannot just fall to one person doing all of the heavy lifting and all of the work, especially going against an offense like the Ravens. And if tackling is an issue for them, there's just no way, because I assume the Ravens are going to be very run heavy in this game. There's no way that he's going to be able to tackle Henry or Jackson. I don't think he can even catch up to Jackson if it came down to that. But they're going to have a lot of prep this week in order to prepare for the Ravens. And I just don't think that they get it done, especially because, like I said, you cannot rely on one person to get everything done in football.
Yeah, I would say I think Logan Wilson will probably eventually put it together this season. But good athlete, good in coverage. But I do worry about his ability to attack on and work through, kind of get through the gaps in zone. Because that was what we saw last week. What the Ravens did so well was that outside zone concepts. So yeah, I mean, to Ashley's point, you can't have one player kind of be your fix there, and in the middle, at least in the spine, he really he kind of is the fix. If you look at it, Geno Stone made a tweet a couple weeks ago saying they said I couldn't tackle. Well, the Bengals are out 31st in the league versus outside zone or outside runs. And more likely than not, he will have to run that alley and probably meet Derrick Henry in the alley. And we'll find the answer to that question. Now,
Right. Right.
obviously, if we're being honest, it's pretty hard to tackle Derrick Henry. Even the greatest players, it happens. But I'm just saying, there's probably going to be a moment where it's like, man, should have said that one. But yeah,
Yeah.
Logan Wilson, I am a positive player of. It's just positive opinion of. It's just he really is the only one in the spine that is it.
I want to give a shout out to Percy. Hey, appreciate you, man. I knew that you've been checking in on the channel quite some time, and always enjoy hearing from you. A lot of football knowledge from Percy. What up, fam? The O line is straight now with the scheme, and he follows up with Stanley, McCary, Tyler, Daniel, and Rosengarten are the O line. So Percy likes McCary at left tackle. I kind of like left tackle. Excuse me, left guard. I kind of like McCary at left guard too, just for the experience and the movement skills. You can ask McCary to pull a lot more than you can ask Voorhees. He's more of a strong player, not a very extremely mobile, not as mobile as McCary, put it that way. And Voorhees has some learning curves, and I feel like if you're going to start, Rosengarten is a rookie, Lele is an inexperienced player. I kind of like McCary there too. Thanks, Percy. I appreciate you, man. Hey, I wanted to get to highlighted Roger Rosengarten, just basically to talk about him, Ashley. I thought that his first start last week was phenomenal. And it wasn't just me when I went online. Saw a lot of fans noticed, other film guys noticed. Roger Rosengarten actually got his chance at right tackle with the injury at left guard, which moved McCary over there to Voorhees' spot. And it looked like he did really, really well, including making a solid block. And to Percy's point, it was schemed really well to that side. Ricard's going to make that block on the defensive tackle 10 times out of 10 times. Rosengarten basically had to just kick out on the Buffalo defensive end. Mark Andrews really had the key block there, and Derrick Henry housed it. But Rosengarten looked impressive to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important that you bring up that it's working for the scheme. And that's what I said. I'll give where it's due. I'll give Harbaugh a little leniency and try to see his vision here because it did work really well last week. And I feel like there's just some growing pains for all teams in the league at the very beginning of the year. So, the offensive line kind of had to go through that in order to get to this point. And I see this working for them at this point in time. It could always be better, but that goes really for anything. I think Rosengarten has been really well there. I think the protection is really well there. I think everything is working the way that it's supposed to for this offense. And if it's a run-heavy offense, as long as they're winning, I don't really care.
For sure. I would only add is Gordon McGinnis pointed out that they've only had six. They had six true pass sets last week, and I think six the week before. So to the commoners, I'm sorry I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Percy, yep.
The scheme is they're putting more tight ends out there. They're putting a card out there. They're blocking with 6, 7 on these dropbacks where they're actually like taking a second to do something besides throw a Zay Flower screen. So. Yeah,
Right. For you old school guys, that would be like the old 5-step drop and 7-step drop, like when quarterbacks were under center all the time. The 6 true pass sets would be like a pass that's not like a quick bubble screen, stuff like that.
Right. So, Rosengarten, great debut. You could see the feet, you can see the hand placement, and you can see the athleticism all come together and kind of reminded me of Zach Tom the Packers tackle back in that draft. That was my comparison for him. Zach Tom's a current starter in the NFL. He's like one of the best pass protectors in the NFL in terms of just pure like win rate and all that stuff. So great to see. Obviously in the run game, you see the athleticism. You see him working outside zone, getting out there, being able to stretch to the edge, stretch the corners, working downfield. So very pleased. Hopefully, this is the lineup. This, at least for now, this stays the lineup, and maybe down the road we can do something about that right guard spot. But at least for now, I don't see a reason why Rosengarten at least isn't in there.
Perfect attendance for the Ravens at practice. Voorhees is back practicing, which is why I put him there. But to Percy's point, it wouldn't surprise me if they stuck with McCary, especially in a big game like this versus the Bengals. I mean, just this is something I was going to say at the end, but one thing that does make me nervous about this game is that I like the matchup a lot. Like, we've beaten better Bengals teams than this. They haven't matched up well against Lamar. Like, for all the problems we've had against the Steelers when we were the better team, the Bengals have had we've done really well against the Bengals overall the last few years. But what I don't like is, like, I like it so much, and the Bengals are desperate. At 1-3, if they lose to us, go to 1-4. Now they're 2 games behind us. They've already lost one. It's going to be really hard for them to dig themselves out of the hole. So, next point I wanted to make was I have Mike Hilton highlighted. Veteran slot player. He played with Pittsburgh, and he played with Cincinnati. He's seen a lot of Lamar Jackson. He's seen a lot of the run scheme. He is a very good blitzer. He's very good in run support. He's only 5'9", but he does a lot of damage and knows the Ravens well. He won't be overwhelmed in this game. Well, he hasn't practiced for the first 2 days this week. So I'm keeping an eye on Mike Hilton in this practice participation on Friday. That's something that if you're listening to this show on Friday or Saturday, check to see Mike Hilton's status, because actually he's a very important player for them, a veteran, has been around. And if he's not there, they're going to have to maybe move Dax Hill or have a much less experienced player in DJ Turner, second-year player, covering some time.
Yeah, and I feel like that almost puts even more pressure on what we were talking about with Wilson and how one player can't get it done. That will just place a lot more pressure on everyone else if they have to place somebody who's inexperienced in that position, who hasn't faced off with the Ravens and doesn't really know what to expect from their offense, and just how explosive this offense has been, and kind of the motivation that they have, the momentum that they've built up. This isn't going to be an easy matchup for them, so that could be really dire for the Bengals.
For sure. And I would also say out there, and Jason, I know 2 weeks in a row, you put that green or the yellow highlight over likely, and it just didn't happen. But I would say this week, that backside Z tight end working against Pratt, working against whoever they put in slot, Isaiah Likely probably has himself a game. I'm feeling it. That's my Justice Hill receptions of the week. Is Isaiah Likely gonna have himself a nice game, working Logan Wilson, working Jermaine Pratt, working whoever they put in slot. Hilton, to the points that have been made, great run defender, great, really knows how to. He really sticks his nose in there, isn't afraid to take on contact and play the run. So if he's out, that's huge. Just more plus in the Ravens run game, because sometimes those players like that, you can feed off them. They're players like that, they get in the run, they start going out there, just throwing themselves out there. You see more players in the defense start picking that up, and you get the Geno Stones of the world start throwing themselves. And if he's out, I mean that's a huge loss.
Yeah, and to add to that point, Likely, we just really didn't throw the ball a lot, so I can't. When we needed it, Likely was the first man up, under center throw. There's an under center cut up on the channel right now. There's also a cut up of Kyle Van Noy with his 2 sacks. Just great play, bro. I think he only played 24, 25, 26 snaps and had 2 sacks too. So it wasn't like he was out there for 50 snaps. Just extremely efficient. But Likely he was active when we needed him, which was pretty much the first quarter, and disappeared after that. I think overall, Ashley, what I like about this Ravens offense right now is when you look at Zay Flowers in particular, Isaiah Likely, and even to a little bit lesser extent, Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, these are guys who can get you yak. And with the defense is going to more safe, play, cover 2, cover 3, big time shells, cover 4, like not allowing the deep pass. You need to be able to hit underneath and you need to be able to make somebody miss. The Bengals, very poor tackling team to this point in the season. So I like the idea of getting the ball in Isaiah Likely's hand, Zay Flowers' hand. I could see either one of those guys housing one, or maybe even if we're backed up 40, 50 yarder to put us in the field goal range, that kind of thing against this Bengals team.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Likely has been great in times like that when we just need something other than what we've been running, and he's been really great at that position. I like what Yuri's saying. I like that he could have a really big game here against the Bengals, and I think that would just be really I'm just looking forward to this matchup because I just don't think that this defense is equipped to deal with the Ravens at this state because they're just in two completely different realms to me with the Bengals. Like I think you called them desperate. I think they are, but I don't think that they're desperate enough to get it done. And I think all of these offensive pieces are going to throw them in this game.
Yeah.
I would also toss out there is my only concern is if the Ravens get put in a negative script and they have to go and start throwing against this team. I like Cam Taylor-Britt. I like Dax Hill. I like Bell, and I like Stone. All great coverage players in my opinion. All can hold up in their coverage. And you have Hendrickson and Hubbard who can pierce off the edge, and they're great power rushers. So that is a worry of mine. Now that I'm looking at this match, I'm like, I can see a way where we get into one of those games where we can't establish the run. We have to start throwing the ball, and we're not getting separation like we would want. So just being, little devil's advocate right there.
No, I like it. I don't necessarily agree. I would think that, Lamar would just have to have a bad day or something like that because, the Bengals are good in coverage, but you don't need a lot of dangerous tight passes, deep passes, really to dice them up because, Pratt and Wilson have been bad. Cam Taylor-Britt, by the way, Yuri, did you see this? He got benched last week. Straight out yanked in the game because Deontay Johnson, the former Steeler, now with the Panthers, diced him up so bad that he got benched. And then he got put back into the game, committed a penalty, gave up a touchdown, and then got benched again. So Cam Taylor-Britt is probably their best corner. But he even struggled last week. And actually, one thing I noticed, I tweeted this out today, I almost pulled it. Geno Stone, a very safe player. That's part of his skill set. Always in the right spot. Doesn't gamble, you know what I mean? Doesn't get beat over the top. He's always making sure he's the deepest of the deep. These are all strong suits of Geno Stone. But what that also leads to is he gives a lot of space to catch the ball. So you look between Pratt and Stone, that between level 2 and level 3, over the linebackers' heads and in front of Stone. I don't know if you remember, Ashley, but the 49ers game last year where they lined Kittle up exactly where Likely is. Instead of putting Kittle on the strong side where Andrews is, they put Likely on the weak side and just basically exploited Geno Stone while he was in there. So I would like to see them test the safety of Geno Stone, see how much space he gives them, and maybe try to take advantage of that intermediate passing game.
And that's the difficult part of Yuri bringing up him talking his shit on Twitter is this defense and just this team in general knows him. He was here. We know exactly what his strong suits are, what his weaknesses are, and quite frankly, the Bengals don't run this super complex defense. It's not like he's going to just look like a totally different player against them. Our personnel knows him. So I'm really not concerned when it comes to him. And I think that whatever he had ended up saying on Twitter, he's going to have to eat his words in this matchup.
I foresee it for sure.
Excuse me, I was taking a drink. Yuri, I'm going to kick it to you on this. Let's get inside the coordinator's head. This is something we used to do with Ashley and Garnett, and I haven't done this on the show, but if you're the Bengals defense, how do you attack this Ravens offense? You stack in the box? Are you playing it straight up? Like, what would you bring in Von Bell into that box, bring him, make him basically a linebacker? Who are you trying to make beat you? Like that kind of thing. You're Lou Anarumo of the Bengals. What are you trying to do to, to minimize the Ravens' offense?
I'm probably giving a lot of man. Kind of what worked in the past sometimes is some of those sim pressure looks, and a lot of rotated cover two, along those lines of, hey, like, we're gonna put a lot of people towards the line of scrimmage near the box, kind of that mix and match and dropping guys here, doing that kind of thing, and trying to maintain run defense composure. Um, it's the same. I mean, it's the same answer that we really haven't seen the Ravens do is prove that they can beat you outside consistently on 101s. Because it's just the run game's been working so well this year that they just haven't had to do it. So that would be my thing.
So maybe, let Taylor Britt and Bateman battle and make the Ravens try to use Bateman, something that they haven't done. Been frustrating. Bateman's been open, and I mentioned last week, and again, it happened. It's just like I feel like it's either Lamar or Monken kind of favor the right side of the field, and I know that sounds really elementary and really stupid, but when I think of like the interception that went through Bateman's hands, Bateman's big catch. Look at Odell Beckham, who was playing X last year. A lot of his big plays came on the right side. A lot of his targets came on the right side. So it's like for a while, I thought that they didn't throw to the left because Miles Boykin was over there. And, obviously, I think he's out of the league right now. But to me, it might just be something as simple, Ashley, as Lamar favors reading the right side of his field. And, of course, if you're a right-handed quarterback, your vision is kind of, when you're in that stance, your vision is to the right side. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but I know your free safety is on Bateman's side. I know your best corner is usually on Bateman's side. But actually, there's been matchups over the years where Bateman's had the advantage, and we don't use them.
Yeah, I think especially in times of pressure or just when, you need to make something happen, I can definitely see Lamar favoring certain guys over others or trying to go with the safe option, and it never really seems to be Bateman. And I really don't think it's anything personal. I don't think it's that he doesn't believe in him or doesn't believe in his skill set or whatever it may be. Because yeah, there are plenty of times when he's open and just something doesn't end up happening. But like you said, I think it could just be something as simple as favoring the right side of the field and just not really being aware that he's open down there. And I don't know. That's why I kind of am hoping for a Devonte Adams because I feel like it would be almost impossible to not go to Devonte every time or not look for him first scan every single time because
That's
Bateman's just not that guy.
that's a great point, and it's not even like I'd strike the last comment for the record. Bateman is not Devonte Adams. You know what I mean? That's how I would say it. Or like he's not DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe if you put a 6'4" guy over there, Lamar's very safe with the ball, very smart with the ball. All these rotating coverages that Yuri brought up that he would try. He's seen pretty much everything in the book. But yeah, like a Devonte Adams superstar type, kind of like we have Derrick Henry now, impossible to ignore. And you're seeing the benefits of that. That might be the answer there. Yeah, and John Parsons saying he was just typing that. Yuri, sorry to interrupt, buddy, but the Bateman stuff. I people they're like, oh, you watch film and you're like, Lamar likes throwing to the right side of the field. That sounds stupid, but like I've seriously seen it so many times. And like when he does target the X, when he does target Bateman, damn sure seems like it's when Bateman's lined up on the right side of the field. So it's just sticking out to me.
Yeah, and that tracks. That definitely tracks. Now that I think about it over the years, of where Lamar kind of his angle is at.
And the first reads are always over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that tracks to the Bateman discussion. That I mean, look, he dropped the ball in the end zone last week. He's a player who plays through contact, and he is that intermediate. Get him working on slants, crossers, digs. That's where he works best. But you also see him not be able to play through contact sometimes. So, it's tough. It's definitely tough because his frame just can't. His frame just isn't built to really play through contact. And we've seen him get boxed out for that pick earlier. We've seen him, the little jersey tug, and he just can't make a grab. So, yeah, I mean,
I wonder if that's something he can improve on because, like, I wouldn't go as far as say his frame can't handle it. Like, we've seen smaller receivers, skinnier receivers that play through contact better than
right.
Bateman has. And then, like, Ashley, remember Mark Andrews? Like, he had a really hard time playing through catching the ball through contact, and then cleaned that up the last couple of years. Like, he had a drop last week, but he was wide open. It wasn't that kind of drop. I'm talking about catching the ball in traffic with a guy draped over you. That was like a weakness of Andrews his first few years. I want to say like 3 years, maybe into the fourth year, and he cleaned that up, and now he's catching. It seems like he's almost better and more focused in those situations.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'll be the first to say I'm just not Bateman's biggest fan. And I think that when he was drafted, I actually think that was one of the first things I heard Lamar say. He asked how tall was he or how big was he? And I think that that's just something he's been lacking. And I see they use Likely kind of in that big body receiver kind of position on the offense, but he would benefit greatly if he like had a true bigger built guy over there. But obviously we have to work with what we have, and that's Bateman. So I think he can definitely work through some of those things.
And he works fine as a third, fourth
Yeah,
option.
Right.
So that's cool. Like, he's open when he's needed. So that's good. And last thing, guys, real quick, because I don't want to run up the time on you guys and keep you. Mark Andrews, I'm not worried. I think he's still a little beat up. I think maybe the car accident had something to do with like was more serious than we thought, because to me he doesn't look completely right physically. I know he's getting up there in age, but I have a feeling that when we need Mark, he's going to be Mark and he's going to be fine. Any concerns? Are you disagreeing with me there, Ashley, on Mark Andrews?
I can understand and see that he could potentially get back to a better place. And again, I'm not blaming him for having a car accident and going through whatever he is going through off field. But I am a little bit concerned in his production on the offense. He's just not what we've been used to, because I was very confident a couple years ago in saying he was tight end one of the league. I would say he was the best, even comparing him to Kelsey and Kittle. I was confident in saying Mark Andrews is better than them. Have you seen what he's been able to do with the Ravens? And I kind of want him to get back to that. But I think our other guys, likely Yuri's guy, Kolar, they've been very serviceable, and I'm not too concerned if Andrews isn't able to get back to as great as he was, because I think that they've just developed their tight ends really well and they work well in this scheme. So even if he can't get to that place, I'm not too concerned at that position. I'm more so just concerned with him as an individual player, and I just wish him the best. I don't want any player to struggle on this team.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough to come back from snapping your leg in half and being in a car accident. Um, but over the next couple of weeks, the Ravens' pass offense really can't afford to just have the Ravens' offense in general really just can't afford to have Mark Andrews out there and kind of be a decoy, a $15 million decoy, as he has been over the past couple of weeks. I think they need to get him involved. Get him involved early and often. Maybe he's just one of those players who's going to get a couple of touches, get that confidence back, and boom, we're rolling type of deal. But yeah, I just don't. I don't think you can just have him out there and continue the process we've been doing. I would also throw out there is that over the next couple of weeks, if he's just in the same boat as we're talking about him now, where it's just like we just can't get him the ball or maybe whatever. If you can get a good return on him, and I'm not much of the lunch break hot take going crazy, ripping takes. But if you can get good return and value, um, I would probably look at trying to flip him. Because Jason, we talked about clearing out contracts for the future, and needing that money and cap space to be able to sign more free agents in the future, trades, whatever you want to say. Um, you know, great Raven will probably Ring of Honor when it's all said and done, but it just hasn't been there this year and the back half of last year, and obviously it's out of his control.
Yeah,
He just paid too much to do too little. You know what I mean? You
I
can't
hear
have both.
you. I hear you. I think the odds of Andrews getting traded is like slim and none.
Yeah,
That is Lamar's guy, bro. That is Lamar's guy. If there's movement after the season, I could see that, but nah, he's not getting traded. Okay, that's my opinion. Sorry about that.
I know.
Just my opinion. We got to flip it over. We're going late. This has been a great show. I'm having so much fun. Bengals offense versus the Ravens defense. A lot going on here. And actually, I would just start with this. I feel like I could get creative here and highlight different guys, but it would be disingenuous not to just highlight Chase and Higgins and simply say that this offense goes as the wide receivers goes. This offense goes through the wide receivers. So I just highlighted Chase and Higgins.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic too that they really don't have much of a run game, and that's almost all of the Ravens' identity. But I'm still not entirely impressed, even if it's Higgins and Chase who we're focusing on. I really haven't been impressed with them throughout the 4 weeks, the month of football we've seen, especially considering Chase is asking for 1 penny more than Justin Jefferson's contract and thinks he's worth more than that. I haven't seen enough from him for it to be a major concern, and I think that this defense is improving every week as well as the offensive line, so I really don't think that this is going to be like, on paper, it looks like it's gonna be a shootout and really entertaining, amusing, but I'm just not there yet with this team and this offense.
Yeah, that's fair. And Higgins really hasn't been. I know he's looking for a contract as well, and he hasn't. You know that I was trying to remember. I think it was the Chiefs game in 2022 or end of the 2022. He had those couple of back shoulder touchdowns. He just hasn't been that type of receiver for a little bit. And to the statistics, I provided Jason is that this year the Bengals really aren't really good. They aren't good throwing outside the numbers. It's just you remember 2021, you had Jamar Chase going for jump balls on the outside, Higgins going for jump balls on the outside, and that was kind of their calling card. And that's those explosive plays are what led them to get almost win the Super Bowl. But this year, you see there at passing outside the tackle box, 7 for 19, 66 yards and a pick. That's bad. That's bad, especially outside the tackle box. You think those are usually your deep shots, your outs. Those are easy, 11, 12-yard plays, and it just it isn't happening for them. But they do work over the middle, and that is kind of what they've been reverted to is Chase working over the middle, Higgins working over the middle, and we've seen the Ravens have problems over the past couple weeks over the middle and communication. So that is an exploit that I think they could take advantage of.
So Ashley, this brings me to Kyle Hamilton. Why I have him highlighted? Obviously, he's just a fabulous player, but I think tackling is going to be a big thing because of the Bengals' quick passing game. You also saw the stat down there about the how effective the Bengals' offensive line has been. Well, when I've seen them, Ashley, it's just a lot of quick hitters, not pushing the ball downfield. Bengals fans, the Bengals analysts that I've listened to this week, I've heard them say Burrow needs to push the ball downfield more. He's got to go downfield more. So it's a lot of dink and dunk from Joe Burrow, which means you got to tackle. And
Check down Joe.
There you go. So Kyle Hamilton, obviously, like Yuri said, Geno Stone is not one to like really fill the alley and come up and smack somebody near the line of scrimmage. Kyle Hamilton does that as about as well as anybody in the league.
Yeah, I have no issues with the physicality of this defense, and I think that that's one of their stronger suits. I think it just needs to maybe be a little less sloppy, like wrapping up tackles, just being a little more efficient there. And I really don't think that this offense is truly equipped or ready to deal with this defense either. So even if they fall a little short and they're not as efficient as I would like them to be at this point in the season, I have no concerns there with them. And Hamilton, he's always all over the field exactly where you need him to be. And that's their worst nightmare, to be honest.
For sure. And I would also toss in there Roquan Smith. Definitely a lot better performance than mine last week. a lot more tone establishing. That kind of filling in the gaps in the run. So need another good week from him out there in space, being able to make tackles. And yeah, we saw Kyle Hamilton as well run the alley. The point I made earlier, and he I said seek and destroy because that kind of felt like what he always does on the plays. He just seeks, destroys. I mean, really does. I look. I love.
That was a
Very
tone
rarely.
setter too, bro. That was early in the game. That was a tone
Yeah,
setter.
yeah. Look, I'm not a big jersey guy. I don't buy a whole bunch of jerseys, but uh, Kyle Hamilton, I bought his jersey. I've had it for about a year now. But phew,
I'm
special,
sure he'd be honored to hear that. He'd be just
special,
honored to hear that.
special football player number 14. As I tell you.
So, Ashley, Hamilton also, we're starting to see the return of the dime defense here. And last week I brought up a heat map of Kyle Hamilton, just showing, hey, he's there, strong safety. He's there near the line of scrimmage, on the edges, everywhere, in the slot. But we're actually starting to see them take Trenton Simpson off the field and put Kyle Hamilton in his spot and bring Eddie Jackson on. So that like over the middle defense that hurt us, especially the first 2 weeks, is being addressed by playing the good old fashioned dime. Remember, Chuck Clark used to come down and play dime linebacker. Now that's Kyle Hamilton. What have you seen from Hamilton as far as his usage? Like, this is something that Yuri and I spoke to last week. We're starting to notice him getting moved around more, but now specifically the dime has become a trend.
Yeah, and I think it just speaks to his ability and they just think that he's capable for this because I honestly believe he's the most intelligent person on their defense, and to be so young and so capable, and just he really didn't need much of that college to NFL translation. It came pretty seamlessly to him, and I think everyone recognized that talent and is just utilizing it to its full potential. And that's what I was going to ask you since you brought up Chuck Clark. Who actually has the green dot on the Ravens defense this year?
Yeah, it's Roquan.
Okay.
He's a 100% guy, but yeah, they went through Chuck Clark because PQ uh, he struggled with it, and I think he's struggling with it in Pittsburgh right now too. So yeah, hey Yuri, with Hamilton, man, and the dime. The one thing I think we talked enough about Hamilton. One thing that another change that they made was instead of having they had Wiggins on the field a lot. I think he played like 70-80% of the snaps last week. So Humphrey was in the slot a lot last week. Nate Wiggins on the outside. We saw him versus CD Lamb was a tough matchup. Last week was not a tough matchup. This week versus Jamar Chase. How worried are you? The young buck versus Jamar Chase out there and trying to tackle that monster. Do you think, what are the odds that like Millette comes back and play in the slot, or Darius plays in the slot, or maybe Kyle plays more in the slot, and they put Marlon Humphrey back in Wiggins' spot?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the famous or infamous 2021 Jamar Chase versus Marlon Humphrey slant play, which I've seen so many times at this point.
That's all they got, bro. That's all they got to hold on to.
That is all they have to hold on to is that game. But yeah, I feel like these guys are competitive. It wouldn't surprise me if Marlon's in the coaching room this week. Hey, let me get out there, let me get some reps in, and Wiggins goes back to that. At least not as much as he played last week. It is pendant on Mollett. If Mollett is out there, is Mollett healthy? Do they work him in? Do they work Hamilton into the slot? But it would not surprise me if the Humphrey kicks out there a little more than he did last week and gets a couple good reps in.
What about you, Ashley? Confidence level in Nate Wiggins handling Jamar Chase this week, and would you start off with Marlon? Would you give Wiggins a chance? How would you handle this?
I think it will be really good for him if they just go ahead and start him out there, because if you were to start Humphrey out there, it's kind of almost saying that you're not confident in his ability to. And like I said, I'm really not moved by anything Chase has been able to do this year, especially if he's fighting for a contract year. I think Wiggins is fully capable of it, and I would also just like to avoid another Marlon Humphrey getting on Twitter afterwards and congratulating Chase. I don't need that, and I don't think
Yeah.
Wiggins is that type of player.
I love it. No, yeah, Chase, he's he had some nice things to say actually today. I think it was, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
he
agree with
can be a
Ashley.
head
Put him
case.
out there. Put him out there. She's right. Put him out there.
So put him out there. You got Hamilton to that side. You got Roquan to that side. You got Van Noy to that side. By the way, Ashley, I was praising Van Noy's intelligence last week. I mean, Kyle's very smart, but man, I'd say I make the argument that Van Noy will be the smartest and one of those who cares type of arguments with you. But like the way he was rushing last week against Josh Allen and the way he rushed against Mahomes and not letting them get outside the pocket and then still getting sacks. I mean, this man is a savant. Just Kyle Van Noy, again, the cut up of his productivity. You want to see 25 really good snaps. It's on the channel this week. But yeah, to back to the point, you got Hamilton, you got Van Noy on that side usually. You might see Adafio Way on that side because Yuri, they got the rookie, first round rookie, Armarius Mims, playing right tackle for them. Their right tackle, I believe, it was Trent Brown. Maybe I'm missing it, but their
Yeah.
right tackle is out for the year. So Armarius Mims put into action. Not good news for the Bengals versus guys like Van Noy. And like you said, I think Adafio Way will get some pure rush snaps over there as well.
For sure, and I'd also add in Ojabo. I didn't Mims is a good athlete in terms of testing, but I didn't think he had a good ability to handle those guys that are athletic, those guys that can set up moves, and that's why I picked him down my board a lot was because he was a good testing athlete, but when you got on the field, I'm like it didn't click for me. So big matchup advantage for the Ravens. I don't think Trent Brown was really any better. I've seen only negative things from him so far from the Bengals, Twitter sphere. I've only seen a lot of upset people. So yeah, Van Noy having what he's like third in the league in sacks or fourth or whatever, and then always 10th. And the only other thing I'd add about the defensive line is it would be nice to see Matty BK go out there and get a little more involved against those guards. I mean, those guards can't really handle him. So I think he had a sack in week 1, and he's been. I've seen the PFF grades. I've seen the other stuff. It hasn't looked all too $20 million in the pass rush game. So it would be nice to see him get out there and have a nice dominating performance.
Agreed. Ashley, Travis Jones, Meta BK, really dominant. Now we have stats down. It's scrolling across the bottom now. The Bengals O line only allowing 19.5% pressure rate. That's a league best. I equate that again, Ashley, to all the quick passes. Like it's kind of like you're not going to give up pressure if you're getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds. So Volson has had his problems. Cordell Volson, Karras is good. Kappa is good. But they're not like stand out. It's not the Chiefs' interior offensive line with Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and those guys. So it would be great to see Travis Jones keep dominating like he has been. Ashley, I swear I could do a cut up of him every week.
Yeah, I think that this is really going to bring to the attention to just, casual football viewers. If you're not a Bengals fan or if you're not a Ravens fan, all I heard truly about the Bengals and why they were going to win the North was that they improved their O-line. Their O-line looks good. Look at the offense while not having a defense at all that we already went over. But I'm not, like you said, there's nuance to some of the statistics that they're putting up. And if once you really look at that and say, oh, well, it's because of the quick passes, the little checkdowns that Joe Burrow's doing, they're not truly that good. And I feel like you can shift all of these players around on defense and you're still going to get the same result. I don't think that the Bengals are prepared to deal with the Ravens this week on any side of the ball.
It's a great tackling team for the Ravens, I would say, other than free safety. Sorry to call Marcus Williams out, but that is not his strong suit. But you look at Hamilton, Simpson's a better tackler than Queen was, especially at this point in his career. Roquan, obviously, Marlowe, physical tackler. Stevens, a physical tackler. Wiggins still needs some improvement in that area. He's more of a run up and cut your legs out type of guy. But it's a really good tackling team overall. And I mean, our Darius Washington, I would love to see him get more time, Yuri, because every time he's on the field, he just plays with this sense of urgency, this activity level. He actually his smarts are really good too. Like he is one of the you don't make it in the league at his size and weight as a safety or a corner without just being a great football player, like great at the game of football. Our Darius Washington is great at the game of football. That doesn't mean he's an all-pro player. I'm just saying, for his size and speed, you have to be great to do what he does. So Yuri, I think very good tackling team overall. And I wanted to, if you can comment on that, that would be great. But I wanted you to kind of knock out Andre Yoshevus and Eric All for us. Those are the two main pass catching slot targets that the Bengals are using. They've gone to 12 personnel, which is two tight ends, a lot more, but that's kind of deceiving because they're using Eric All like the Ravens use Isaiah Likely. So yeah, it's two tight ends on the field, but Eric All isn't in there to block a lot. You know what I mean? He is a receiving tight end. They'll split him out wide. Yoshevus, Eric All. They also have Mike Gesicki. Their blocking tight end is Drew Sample. Can you talk about that inside slot group in the tight ends?
Yeah, so Yoshivas, Princeton University. So already off the bat, smart, working leverage versus zone. A player I was very high on coming out of the draft, and he's had a couple touchdowns this year. Knows how to use his very long framed guy in terms of wingspan height. And then you add in Gasecki as well, who always had a positive opinion of. I like his ability to get up and work the jump ball a couple of times. So yeah, they'll use Yosivas in the slot. They'll use Gasecki in the slot. To your point, they'll also use All in the slot. So they can definitely work the slot. I would not. I've seen them move Chase in the slot as well a couple of times. I've seen them move Higgins in the slot. So they definitely like getting multiple with the receivers moving around. I know Charlie Jones is another guy out there. I've seen him get a couple of reps at slot. I know they like a couple of gadget plays, some quick jet sweep passes. Those front tosses out of the slot. The slot receiver comes over and they toss it forward. So yeah, it would not surprise me to see Yosivas or one of the other guys that we listed probably get a couple good reps in with whoever's lined up against them in the slot.
So Ashley, we talked about the middle of the defense being, a place where opponents attack the first couple of weeks, and we move Kyle into the dime defense. We've seen that improve, especially against the Bills. I thought the Bills, they had Dalton Kincaid, they had Khalil Shakir who worked the middle a lot. They had some pretty good weapons that could work over the middle. And the Ravens, shut down Josh Allen in all phases, even though they were in passing mode pretty much the whole game. So it wasn't like Josh Allen had plenty of chances to attack the middle of the field with his arm, and the Ravens shut that down pretty well. How are you feeling about the middle of the defense as far as is last week an aberration and you still have some level of concern? Do you think that this defense is just gelling better, getting better under Zach Orr and getting more used to each other? How do you feel about that?
I feel like my expectations are still with last week because I genuinely didn't expect them to come out as confident and just overperforming, in my opinion, against Josh Allen and the Bills and what we'd been hearing about, you know, him being the MVP favorite and everything. Like, I really didn't expect the defense to attack the way they did. And I'm even less so confident in the Bengals offense. And I think Burrow is going to he already sounds rattled. So I feel like he is going to be thrown off by this defense. And I suspect that the momentum that both sides of the ball, offense and defense for the Ravens, they're going to show up big in this game.
I love it. I love it. Hey, look what the cat dragged in. Our good buddy. All of us love him. Just a great person. For y'all that follow his channel and appreciate his work and watch him because he does such a great job. He's just a great human being too. I say that all the time, and luckily he's not on to say, "Oh no, you just messed," because he's very humble. But Engraven's the man, bro. He really took me under his wing, so to speak. I didn't bother him. I was intimidated to talk to him. Just the nicest guy in the world, and of course he loves Yuri and Ashley. And look at this, Ashley. A super chat of $9.99. He knows he doesn't have to do that. I will say this though, Engraven and Ashley. It's kind of funny, Ashley, because this is our first super chat of the year, I believe, and I haven't got a super chat donation since Ashley was on the show last. So I'm wondering if this is like an Ashley thing or not. Like Yuri, you and I must not be cool enough, or dare I say, good looking enough to get earn any super chats. Ashley comes in, we made like $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get this mustache right, make sure it's edged up right. I'm wearing a hat, keep my jawline looking straight. Nothing.
Yeah, you're a mess, bro. Especially you got the cap on for the second week in a row. You said you had never worn a baseball hat.
I haven't, man.
I think
It's
you're
it's
rocking
part
it
of the
well.
culture. It's part of the culture.
Now, I love you. In all seriousness, we love you and Graven a lot and appreciate you. Ashley, any other thoughts on defense before we wrap this up? And Yuri, go ahead and follow her up, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like I said, I'm very confident in this unit, and I would even go as far as to say it doesn't really matter where you put Owe or Van Noy. They're going to attack this O line because, like I said, if that was the main thing that everyone was hyping up about this Bengals offense was that they improved their O line. I haven't seen much of it, and I just haven't been impressed with the production of this offense in general. I don't think that Chase is making the campaign that he thinks he is for that contract that he is wanting to be more than Justin Jefferson's. I'm not worried about this matchup, and I have complete confidence in our defensive unit to get it done.
Yeah, I would. My last thought is more on like the weird. Hey, they probably seen each other, probably played each other. Little rivalry type thing. You got Wiggins, you got Simpson, both Clemson. You have Roquan, and you have Roquan, Georgia, and then you also have on the other side of the ball, you have Chase and Higgins, LSU, and then you have Mims, Georgia, and also Burrow, LSU. So there's a little. I think there's going to be a little nice chippiness to this game, nice little rivalry. I mean, it's a divisional game. They always do have bad blood for each other. Other thing I tossed out there is Marcus Williams. I'm feeling one. I'm feeling one this week. I think we got a nice little deep ball pick. He probably works his way over and makes a play. So
Yeah, final thoughts time for me. Just a few of them. I think number one, they said in the beginning, the only thing that really worries me about this game, I mean, like strong concern, is that divisional game, desperate opponent on the road. I hope that the Ravens play with the same urgency in which they played Sunday and in which they played the week before versus Dallas, and just take this as a must win, because the Bengals are in must win mode. And of course, week 5, it's not literal, but I think for for the Bengals rather, it's darn close. You don't want to start 1-4, and especially if the Ravens beat you decisively, Ashley. I think that would be a really heartbreaking thing. You probably see guys who have yapped a lot in the past. The Bengals start yapping, start talking, and there being some real doubt in the stadium and amongst the players. So I just hope the Ravens come out, match that energy, and I think they'll be just fine in this game. I lean towards it being a higher scoring game. I think. I mean, I'm sure Vegas has the over set pretty high. I'm not sure if I would take the over or not, but I think it's a game in which the Ravens can hit 30 points, and depending on how soft the defense is, not letting Cincinnati, go over the top, but kind of giving them the short stuff that Cincinnati, could be up into 20 points themselves. Would love to see it not be that way. I would love to see like another 30-10 type win for the Ravens, but those are my concerns. I feel really confident in this game, which scares me, Ashley.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. I've been underestimating this team, so I feel like it's time to switch gears and just be like overly confident in this team at this point.
I love it. I love it. So, final thought though. What are you thinking about the game? I know that you're feeling confident, but who do you think is going to be a big game from, or not a good game from on the Bengals? What do you feeling is going to happen here?
I guess I'll just continue with my trend of talking down on Chase. I don't think he's going to have a big game. I think he might have jinxed himself by what he was asking for in terms of his contract, and this being the year to really prove it. So I think the Ravens shut him down, and I think the defense is going to have a time with the Bengals offense.
Have a time. I'm gonna put next to my parlay, Jamar Chase under 50 yards because Ashley said so. And if you don't, you owe me a lot of money. Yeah,
I don't know about that. Gambling is illegal in Florida, so I
That's
don't
right.
win any money.
Yeah, I think the Ravens win big. They make a nice little statement for themselves like they did last week. And I'm with Ashley. I'm in the overly confident book. I'm going to go 42. 42. Big numbers. 42-24 isn't a game ever at all at any point. The Bengals will score a couple touchdowns late as the Ravens start filtering in their backups and all that kind of jazz. Like I said, Marcus Williams probably makes a nice over the top play. Isaiah Likely, backside Z working. Probably I say 2 touchdowns. Isaiah Likely, get a little bold. And then Derrick Henry probably has another great game. Easily 100 rushing yards for him, and the rush offense. I mean, this might be one of those games the Ravens have like 500 yards of offense. They just have their way. I just how I'm feeling. That Bengals defense. We saw the stats. We saw the matchup. They might just have their way.
I hope that I can cut that up and replay that on social media, because that would just be so nice, man. If you come through with just any number of those predictions, you too, Ashley. Hopefully, you don't mind if I do that. If we hold Chase to like 15 yards or something, I might have to give you your props. So I hope you don't mind that. Look, it's just been a ton of fun tonight. We ran a little bit long, but I'm sure you guys don't mind. Ashley, always just great, concise perspective. And if you don't see Ashley on the show again this year, it's because she told me no, because I'm going to ask again. So I'm putting you on blast right now, Ashley, to come and join us again this year. I bet you will, especially when it starts getting later in the year, playoff time and stuff. I know you'll come and support and have something to say. And of course, Yuri from Ravens Way, him and Voss will be back online soon enough. I really appreciate him taking time from parts unknown in the hotel, motel, no-tell to join me on in the evenings here. So I really appreciate you both. Love you both. And with that, I'll say, thank you to my football family. Love my football family. And we'll catch you guys next time. Say goodbye to the people, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.